So, role playing secrets are a great way to add some depth and complexity to your Pathfinder character without necessarily getting into the numbers and the nitty gritty of character creation. It can be used to create maybe a sense of mystery, a sense of intrigue, some suspense into the adventure, and it can also help flesh out your character's backstory and personality. Let's say you chose something along the lines of, heck, even a farmhand or a constable or something along those lines. A secret could be related to something along those lines. My name is Don. I'm trying to be the sly strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So, I wanted to start this new set of guides into role playing just to add a little bit of original content that might give you some ideas. These are things that I like to do in order to help flesh out a character, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's talk about what are secrets. Secrets are things that your character knows, but other characters don't. They might be anything from a dark past to a hidden talent, and they can be used to create minor conflict. And let me highlight that minor conflict, some suspense, some mystery, and just to bring a little bit of variety to your game. Now, there are certain things that I would suggest on how you would use a secret. You can use secrets to kind of actually bring your group together a little bit. Let's say you wanted to role play where you and another character or a group of characters knew each other prior to this particular adventure. Well, then you would have a secret that is just your past and your history. You can decide to tell individual players what your secret is and not tell other players based on what you think they may be, what you think they could do, and what you think it could do for the game. You can also keep the secret to yourself and let other players gradually learn about this secret as you adventure together and they notice things that you do. You can give subtle hints, or you can combine all these approaches. In other words, to have a secret that a group of you know that binds you together in a friendship or some type of grouping, as well as to gradually allow the rest of the party to learn what they are. Now, here are some things I will say on how not to use secrets. First of all, don't use secrets to make yourself the main character of the story. They should be subtle things that aren't going to overtake the arc of the adventure path you're on or the individual adventure that you're on. They shouldn't require the GM to spend an hour and a half of your 3 hour session just dealing with your secret, nor would you want your secret to necessarily hurt the other players. Let's say your secret was that you were a spy and you have to go meet your handler on occasions. Well, if your character and your party are going into a big battle and all of a sudden you have to step away because you need to talk to your handler because you're a spy, well, then you're putting your other players in jeopardy simply because you would like to role play your secret. So just keep in mind that in these type of adventures, everybody's the main character, not specifically you. So they should be subtle, they should be small, and they should add flavor without demanding a bunch of time and a bunch of investment from not only yourself, but from the other players for your secret. Now, here are some things to keep in mind when you're role playing secrets. Now, your secret can be used just for flavor, or it could be something that would affect the player's reputation or relationships it was revealed. It can be as big or small as you'd like, while keeping consideration of your other players that are in your party. If it will, in general, affect the story, you should immediately notify the GM and get his permission in order to have that type of secret. A lot of GMs will, and I enjoy doing it too, a lot of GMs will take the character's backstory and try to bring that into the adventure, even if it's not specifically written in there, in order to help give everybody a good feeling of what their individual player is feeling and doing during these adventures. But you need to make sure the GM knows. And even if it's a minor secret, it would be a good idea to give the character's backstory to the GM. I am not a big proponent of the GM as the god of the adventure. The GM is a player just like everybody else, and it should be fun for them as well. So if you have a big secret or something and you drop it on the GM and he is unprepared, well, then you're forcing them to scramble for your benefit. So once again, the big thing about secrets is don't make yourself the main character. And you should also be prepared to role play the consequences of your secret. Let's say your secret is that you are deathly afraid of a certain type of monster. Well, when you come across that monster, let's say that you are deathly afraid of kobolds and you come across 2 kobolds and 4 giant spiders. Even though it might not make sense, your secret could be to either attack the kobolds with everything you have or to totally avoid the kobolds and go towards the other monsters. Even though it might not make sense in that particular instance. So you need to be prepared to commit to your secret. Once again, keeping in mind the other player characters. So these are just little things that kind of add a little bit without taking over the whole adventure. Here are a few ideas for some things that could be role playing. Like I said, you could have a certain monster or creature type that you're deathly afraid of or hate, and you could gradually let other people know through interactions, or even on your first interaction with it. You could be like, "Oh, I hate snakes," in the Indiana Jones type way, and that can add a little bit of depth to your character. Your character could be a criminal on the run, and maybe the GM could role play a part where you're in a town and all of a sudden some bounty hunters come along and you have to have that conflict with your other player characters and exposes the secret. Your character could be a member of a secret society that has their own plans and own objectives that they need to do, and then you would have to role play the conflict between your party and this secret society. Your character could be a shapeshifter, or they could be a flesh warp, and it would be your willingness to hide those particular things to keep your secret, or to maybe cover the flesh warp part in order to try to remain friends with your players and have them gradually learn what they are. Your player character could also be a descendant of a legendary hero or a legendary villain. Maybe you're doing Abomination Vaults and you are the grand nephew of Otari Ifalti. So that could be something that you could role play into the system. And it doesn't necessarily affect the overarching adventure, but it just gives you a little bit of flavor. Now, possibilities are endless, so get creative while keeping in mind that you aren't the only player at the table. And then here are just some general tips for role playing these type of secrets without giving any specific examples. Number one, you want to be subtle. If you are doing something and then you just blurt it out in the first 10 minutes of the first time your group meets together, then it's not really a secret. It's just your backstory. So try not to make it obvious that you have a secret and just gradually let it out to the player characters as you go. And that way it develops your personality. 2, be consistent. You want to make sure that if it is something along the lines of, once again, you're deathly afraid of a certain type of monster, then every time you come into it, you need to be consistent with that. Otherwise, it's just convenient for you. You need to be prepared to improvise. If your plan was to reveal it when you got to the big objective or the second book of an adventure path or something along those lines, well, if you are secretly letting out, it might happen at a time that you're not prepared for it to happen. So you need to be prepared to improvise. And the last tip I could say is, have fun with it. It is just a way to add a little bit of depth to your character and take it away from being a combat simulator into an actual role-playing adventure where you get to be a different character. So in conclusion, secrets are just a great way to add some depth and complexity to your character without overtaking the whole entire adventure. They can also be really fun to come up with as you're creating the character. So whenever you do, just don't be afraid to give them a secret or two. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that this might have given you some good ideas on what you could do on the next time you decide to create a character. And if you happen to like the video, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But even if you don't, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.